So this video is looking at BMAT 2020, Section 2, Question 21. So we're given a simple food chain. It's going rosebush to aphid to ladybird, and a table representing how many organisms we have and the biomass at each level of this chain. And our question is, what percentage of biomass in the producer is transferred into each individual secondary consumer? So our first point of call is going to be defining these terms, producer and secondary consumer. So which of the things from these tables correspond to these terms? Well, we know that the rosebush, that's the first thing in our chain, is going to have to be the producer. So that's taking energy from sunlight and producing its own food, producing the biomass that's going to feed the rest of the chain. Our aphid comes next, so what's that going to be? It's going to be our primary consumer. It's the first consumer in the chain, consuming the biomass from the rosebush, primary consumer. So then that leaves our ladybird as the secondary consumer. So now we know our different levels of the food chain, how are we going to work out how much of the rosebush's biomass is transferred into the ladybird's biomass, each individual ladybird? Well, we should start with how much proportion of the biomass from the rosebush is in the ladybird population biomass. So to do that, what are we going to do? Well, we just need to take the proportion, so that's going to be 10, which is the biomass at the ladybird level, divided by 800, which is the rosebush, and that's going to give us our proportion of biomass from the rosebush in the ladybird population. So I'm just going to simplify that to 1 over 80, just to make it easier for the next calculation. So there we have the amount of producer biomass in the secondary consumer population. But our question isn't asking for the population, it's asking for each individual secondary consumer. So what's our next step going to be? Well, we just need to divide it by the number of consumers we have at this level, which is 50. So we're going to do 1 over 80 divided by 50. And the easy way to do that is just to times 80 by 50, which 8 by 5 is 40. Adding 2 zeros on the end of that, we know it's going to be 1 over 4,000. So that's 0.00025. We can do that simply by knowing that 1/4 is 0.25, and then we've just got to divide that by 1,000. There we go. And that represents the amount of producer biomass in each individual secondary consumer. So our final task is finding the percentage. So we've got the amount, now we need to find the percentage. And how are we going to do that? Well, all we need to do is times it by 100 to get the percentage. And so our answer is 0.025%. And our answer is A.